Alright, so about 3 minutes ago, I just finished showing my buddy Ricky the trailers to the Phantasm series.
Now you die.
He had never seen them. Hell, he'd never even heard of them. So now, we're going to go do something. So yeah, we're up here at Wally World. You know, us Southerners love our Walmart. But I decided to bring Ricky here because I noticed something the other day. Now, while I own the entire Phantasm series myself, I'm coming to buy this and I'm sending it home with him because he is going to watch the Phantasm series and then come on to the show and give us his rundown, review, and recap and his thoughts on the series. And as someone who is unfamiliar with the series, has only now just seen the trailers, yeah, I think he's in for quite a surprise with Phantasm. One of the biggest joys any film buff can experience is being able to share his love for a film with somebody who is unfamiliar with it. That's why I was excited when I found out my buddy Ricky had never heard of Phantasm. Phantasm has always been one of my favorite horror films. My introduction to Don Coscarelli's classic Phantasm came when I was 8 years old, and my mama took me to a mom and pop video store, picked out a handful of movies, where we went home, jumped on the couch, and she popped in Phantasm. I was completely blown away by its surrealistic, dreamlike quality, nightmarish imagery. Everything about that film absolutely frightened me, it entertained me, but it made me very curious. I wanted to know how they made this film. You know, little 8-year-old Kevin was scratching his head trying to figure out how they made the effects in the film work and why it left this lingering sense of dread and just eeriness. And like I said, it was very nightmarish, especially for an 8-year-old kid. So growing up, I've always had a deep, deep love for the Phantasm film. The sequel, Phantasm 2, I'm thinking I was about 11 years old when that movie came out. And I remember seeing the trailers for it and getting really excited because I didn't think they would ever make a sequel to the original Phantasm. And my mom, being the film buff she was, drove us to Jackson, Tennessee to the theater and paid for me a ticket. We went in and watched Phantasm 2, and I was just completely in love with this series. I wanted more. Luckily, by the time I got to high school, Don Coscarelli and crew had decided to continue the saga and put out Phantasm 3. A few years later, Phantasm 4, Oblivion. And, of course, I was just completely eager to jump into them, you know, watch the continuing adventures of Mike, Reggie, Jody, and the Tall Man. And throughout my teenage years, up until adulthood, I was trying to impress upon anyone who would listen my love for Phantasm. I wanted to share it with everyone. So throughout the years, I've met many people who have either never heard of Phantasm or had heard of the film series, and had never taken the time to check them out. And I always loved being the guy that, you know, let them borrow the VHS tapes, then my DVDs. I love being the guy who introduced Phantasm to new fans. So me and Ricky got together, and he watched all the films, and now I'm making him sit down where he is going to just kind of give us his thoughts on each one of them. And much like me, Ricky's kind of uncomfortable in front of a camera, especially in an interview style setting here, where I was just asking questions letting him fill in the answers for me, telling me, what his favorite moments were, what most impressed him about the films. If he enjoyed them, I asked him to rate them. So there's a rating for each of the film, a ranking for each of the films. And then at the end, I asked him what he thought about the whole series.
What's up, guys? Rickey Powell. My review on the Phantasm 1 is that my take on it was, as far as production, directing, stuff like that, it all looked good for me for that era. I really loved the Sentinels. They were awesome. And tall man, he really fit that part. Just seeing how close Mike and Jody were, just reminded me of my childhood, so really liked that. But just figuring out, just how Phantasm was, like what was it in that first movie, really blew my mind. Just seeing how you have friends that would, pretty much do anything for each other. My favorite scene from Phantasm 1 was when Mike went back into the room to pack his stuff, and he turned around, closed the mirror, and seen Tall Man standing there, and then he just said, "Boy," and then Mike gets grabbed out of the window, and it was over. So on a 1 to 10 rating, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10 Sentinels. Phantasm 2 had a bigger budget. Only thing I did not like throughout the whole movie was they took Mike out and put a name star from the era, from that time period in there. It didn't take away from the movie, but to me, it kind of took away from, my relationship I built with Mike in the first movie. So, it was a good storyline. It was very good as far as effects and all. Tall Man looked awesome in the movie. Still didn't have anything on Phantasm original. So my favorite scene from Phantasm 2 was when Tall Man was standing with the priest and just looked at his necklace. The necklace wrapped around his neck and pulled him up in the ceiling. That was good effects. Phantasm 2 rating, 1 to 10. I know it was a higher budget movie, but it really threw me off with the original Mike not being in it. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 Sentinels. Oh, my thoughts on Phantasm 3. Loved that Mike was back. The original Mike was back. I thought that one was great. I love the fact they incorporated females into the fighting roles. Loved the nunchucks. Really liked that Tim, the little boy, he was badass. Tim was like a demented version of Kevin from Home Alone. He could shoot a gun, and he was on point. He saved Reggie's ass many times. My favorite Reggie moment from Phantasm 3 is when he was in his dream. They were out there in the sleeping bags, and he started dreaming because he really wanted some Rocky, and he went off drifting into his own little dream, and he was in a hotel room, and he was getting it in, and next thing you know, there's Jody standing at the door, and he's like, "Hey, Jody." So and it just, I don't think it dawned on him because he's trying to do his business. So once he stepped out of the room into that white light, and it was up in the desert there, that just blew my mind how it just, everything just switched so fast there. So that was a good Reggie moment. My rating on Phantasm number 3, I would give it as same as Phantasm number 1, 8 out of 10 Sentinels, because it's far from over. Phantasm 4, my thoughts on it. It was lower budget, of course. It was really good. It picked up right where it left off. Tall man, still doing his thing. He's trying to go through the towns and take everybody down. Mike is trying to figure himself out. He's got the Sentinel in his head. Reggie's still trying to find him. So yeah, you get to see where Tall Man came from. He was a scientist by the name of Jebediah Morningside, as Morningside Mortuaries, and he shows where he first built his little time travel beams. Mike got to see all that as he was traveling in and out, and talked to him, and just wondered how could somebody that nice turn into something that bad. And my rating on the movie, I mean, again, it's just broadening out the story, further, trying to understand. I'd give it, I'm going to give that one a 6 out of 10 Sentinels, because, it's just the wind. Alright, I'm going to give you my take on Phantasm Ravager. Super low budget. You could tell it by the camera. I mean, how it was filmed, where it was filmed, but it told a lot of the story of, what was real, what's not real. Still confused you a little bit, trying to figure out, which reality was the reality it was supposed to be in. Basically, you have Reggie. He's coming back out. He's still on the search for Mike. He's very loyal, wants to get him back. He keeps drifting in and out of a nursing home, and then back into him searching for Mike. And then he finds Mike in a different realm where they're battling the Tall Man, and he's done took over the world. Has huge sentinels. I mean, he's cutting things down. And he's tearing up everything, but like I said, it just keeps jumping back to the nursing home. So Reggie doesn't know, he can't grasp that if what's real and what's not real anymore. So he's just going with the flow, just trying to get the trio back together. I believe, my thoughts is that Reggie, it was all in his mind. He was in the nursing home. Jody and Mike was there with him as he passed, and they were all three together in his alternate dimension. But I think it's just something that the dimension or something, just it created a dream, something to pass the time being in a nursing home. Because in the past movies, I thought it was Mike's dream, but again, what do we know that what's real and what's not real in movies sometimes? My favorite moment and Phantasm Ravager was when Reggie woke up from his little night slumber after writing the song for Dawn upstairs. He goes upstairs to find that she has a sentinel tied to it, or drill in her head. And then in his other reality, he finds her again, but her name is Jen. So he's like, it blows his mind. So that's where it really threw me for a loop, because you could tell something was wrong then, that it was in his imagination, it was his dream he was living. That was my favorite part, just seeing those, how everything intertwined. Now I'm gonna rate, being that it took so long, to get it finished for us Phantasm lovers out there. I'm gonna rate that one at a 7 out of 10 Sentinels. Just because it really did close up the gap on questions throughout the other series. Alright, so now we're going to do my thoughts of the whole series altogether, being that I just literally, not less than a week, found out about the movie. To me, it's literally on my top 5 horror movies now. My horror series. It's up there with Halloween. I mean, it's a good film, good story. I would recommend any horror fans out there to see Phantasm. Put it on your bucket list. It's really good. Again, each movie was, low budget except for Phantasm 2. Which in my opinion still wasn't that great of a movie because the original Mike wasn't in there. Overall, once we got back the original cast, Mike back, everything, it just started to seem like it was just smooth sailing from there. But my rating on the whole movie, or the series, Phantasm, I would give it 11 out of 10 Sentinels, just because it's fucking awesome. Oh god, I didn't talk too much about it.
Well, it looks like we made a new fan, and that's with a PH. So I'm so thankful that I was able to introduce this series to my man, and I'm glad he enjoyed them. I'm glad he got a kick out of them, and I'm hoping that anyone else who is unfamiliar with the films, that watching this video may inspire them to seek them out, check them out. Phantasm has a 40-plus year legacy, and for good reason. It is an incredible film, but more so, it's an incredible film series. There's really nothing else like it within the genre. So, if you haven't seen it, seen the original, seen any of the sequels, I'd highly encourage you to seek them out. Many of them are available on streaming. Of course, they're all available with physical media, DVDs, Blu-rays. But yeah, just seek out Phantasm and see what you have been missing. And once again, thanks for tuning into our videos. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Southern Pride Film Review. Hit subscribe, keep up with us, and let us know what you'd like to see in future videos. Thanks, folks.